This week on Keep It Clutch.
Today, we are honored to have Josh Obaga, a dear friend of mine, longtime friend.
I was having lots of very vivid dreams. And in one of the dreams, I was an ice cream maker. We were texting and she accidentally wrote Ibu in our messages. And I was like, what is that? Yeah,
Snacks.
I've made an insect ice cream actually.
Insect ice cream,
Yeah,
okay.
with a company
Wow.
called Insectipro, but we'll get there.
Okay.
So mostly exhaustion. Like burning out. I burnt out a couple of times, almost like clinically. I've had to see a doctor because I'm not sleeping. I have to deal with a million things. If you can clearly see a vision and it makes sense and you're able to test it, make sure you test. But you have to have a very strong vision that it doesn't matter who it is. Your girlfriend, your mom, if they're like, oh, this doesn't make sense, why don't you just try this other thing? Because you just get a job.
Yeah.
You will be told that, but you have to respect the vision.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Keep It Clutch. Today, we are honored to have Josh Obaga, a dear friend of mine, longtime friend. He is the founder of Ibu Flavor Company, and we'll get into all the exciting things of who Ibu is, who Josh is. So let's get right into it. Josh, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
All right. So let me start with this. What I know a lot about you, but many people don't know much about you. What is one thing that people would be surprised about you if they found out?
Can't think of anything.
Putting you on the spot right away. Welcome.
Hi. What is something that people would be surprised to know about me? I independently study architecture.
Architecture.
Yeah.
Huh.
I love architecture and understanding how humans occupy space from an emotional point of view as opposed to just aesthetic. How do we fill space? How do we share space? How do we own space? And architecture is like the easiest gateway for me to learn that.
I think actually we became friends because I was following your art. Like, I think you're one of the most creative people I know, to be honest.
Thank you.
One of the most creative people I know. You're creative before creative was the buzzword.
Thanks.
All right. So maybe walk us through your background. Who is Josh?
Yeah. So I was born in Nairobi to William and Margaret, and they were teachers at St. Mary's School, not too far from here. My dad was a music teacher, my mom was an English teacher, and I got, ever since I was young, I've always loved creating things. I have a lot of thoughts and I want to figure out how to express those thoughts through first drawing on the walls of the house, drawing on paper.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You're
Getting in
beaten a
trouble.
lot.
Oh my gosh. That's the one thing I got in trouble for the most was drawing on walls.
Yeah.
And then photography, and as I grew up I realized there's so many ways to express yourself, and but I decided to study computer science in Nazarene University, and I went till fourth year and I decided I don't think this is the thing I want to do.
Fourth year?
Mm-hmm.
You've done
I
all
was
the
like,
hard
I
work
think
by
I've
fourth
wasted
year. You've programmed as a fellow computer scientist. That's all the hard work is done.
Yeah,
Just a
I
victory
know.
lap.
I was on my
lap.
final project, and my project was actually about a UI that connects to the short codes on a phone for farmers to be able to not need middlemen and SACCOs to sell their dairy products. And for the reason for that is because my grandfather was a farmer. My grandma was his lifelong partner. My grandmother on my mom's side also was a maize farmer and has a mill where she makes flour. She's still alive now, and that's still what she does.
Wow, nice.
And so for me, farming has been it's in my blood, and it's been part of my life. And my parents were avid gardeners, so for me, being in the garden and having plants around me is something that's always been there. And I was like, I want to do something with my skills to uplift farmers. You look at Europe and like Germany as example, being a farmer there is a very affluent,
Yeah,
job to have. But here it's not in subsistence, not a smallholder
yeah,
farmer.
not smallholder.
And so there are various social political reasons why. But I said, let me at least use my skills to empower you so that you can make as much money for yourself as possible. And it was I had taken a year-long break in second year, to really understand what I really want to do. And within that, I found design and different kinds of design, editorial design for like newspapers, graphic design for advertising, object design. There were many different things that I found, and I was like, I think this is what I want to do. And so, yes, once I left college, once I made the decision to leave college, I was in a pursuit of understanding of what design is. How can we create things that enhance people's lives, either to solve problems or to create entertainment or to connect people more to each other and to themselves. And yeah, and then I got into advertising after studying for design for a long time. And I
Okay,
was
like print advertising or?
no, it's also 360 as they call it. And so billboards, and as that's above the line, which is billboards, TV, internet, whatever. And then below the line, which is experiential marketing, supermarket launching, and all of that. And so I kind of went through what are all the different kinds of advertising, and then how can I use my skills to understand how to connect to people. And yeah, I worked for some of the best companies in Africa and in this country as well.
I know you worked at.
I worked at EXP, which is experiential marketing, which did like things like the World Cup trophy tour and stuff like. So I was in charge of that, and what? Sorry, not in charge, but designing
Right,
things
the
around
creative,
that.
yeah.
Did a lot of stuff for Coca-Cola, because they actually Coca-Cola basically invented experiential marketing. All these ads you see where people are outside experiencing something really interesting and very tangible, as opposed to seeing an ad. That is a big Coca-Cola thing. That's where most of their money goes, and they are the leaders in that. And I got to work with a company like that, so I got to understand very deeply what that means. And then I went to Ogilvy, Africa, where I was an art director, and there
Yeah, Ogilvy is a big deal.
it's a
It's a
yeah,
big company.
it's pretty.
Yeah.
They do okay.
They do all right.
They do all right for themselves.
So you were an art director
I was
there.
an art director there.
Okay. What does an art director do?
So they are just they're kind of like, so the art director and the senior copywriters are kind of from an organizational structure point of view, are right under the creative director. And so for the creative director kind of is a big picture guy, and then he kind of delegates or empowers the art director and the senior copywriter to understand the copy, the words, and the visuals for whatever campaigns that they're doing,
Okay.
whatever level of campaigns, whether it's billboards or packaging or whatever. And so I was in charge of not just the visuals of things, but because I'm a conceptual artist, I was able to come up with strategies and ideation, and of course I had a team that I was also leading.
Yeah.
And yeah, I worked there for some time. It was a very important experience that I had. I went into Ogilvy as a challenge to myself. It wasn't really because I wanted to like get a job. It was because I was like, am I actually good at what I do? And these guys have a lean team as opposed to certain other agencies. They have a leaner team, so it's easier for you to connect with each other, and you're able to be accountable and to create a culture of excitement and passion around your work. And it's much easier to do that to the lean team.
Yeah.
I came to find, and so I chose them, and they chose me, and it was a great experience for me to understand how to work with people, because I freelanced most of my career, how to lead within an environment, a corporate environment, how to consistently create, which is something that's not really a science. It's not a factory.
Yeah.
It's something that requires discipline and
In time.
and really, yes, and time and understanding of self. And so I learned how to create a work ethic around creative work, which is something a lot of artists don't do. They kind of just leave it to inspiration. Whereas in advertising, your art has to have discipline and structure. And so those are things that I learned from there. And of course, my ex-boss, who I still have a great relationship with, he is one of the most incredible human beings. His name is Max Ngari. And right now he's a multi-Cannes
Oh,
award
he's like
winning
he's one of the leading creatives. Yeah.
for Dentsu. So if you see Safaricom ads, whatever, right now he's the guy. Like he's him and his team, and who some of them I used to work with, and they're now at Dentsu, and they do such amazing, incredible work, and just keep winning awards and awards every year.
Yeah.
And it's just, yeah, I'm really grateful that I was able to work with some people who are still in my life and still very impactful in how I think and strategize and all of that. So I'm now once I left, I decided to leave because
Can I just say, I think there's a through line. Now that I see your current chapter, which we're going to get to, there's that artistic through line, even in the way you package, in the way you design your boxes. Like everything builds on everything, I guess.
Absolutely. Like everything I learned about the concept of soft skills when I was in primary school.
Yeah.
So the idea of like, how can you use this to apply this to something else? In high school, I studied this thing called, I was in IB, which is the International Baccalaureate Diploma, which is a pre-university course, 2-year course. And I learned about this thing called theory of knowledge, and like how to use knowledge and apply it to other forms of knowledge. And so if you think about mathematics, when I studied mathematics or studied economics or studied French, how can I use these things how can I apply what I know in one thing into something else? If I'm studying, I don't know. I mean, I'll explain how it affected my work now, but
Yeah.
soft skills for me are everywhere. How to communicate with people, how to design, how to carry yourself, how to drive. There's so many little things that that are valuable to things that you're passionate about doing and are focused on doing.
Yeah.
And so the biggest point for me in terms of the skills that I apply into my work now, Ogilvy, very big,
Yeah.
very, very big.
So you went from Ogilvy to Ibu.
No, I mean, yes, there's like a 7-year kind of search for self.
Okay.
Because I was like, I think I don't want to I love design, but I don't want to be in advertising.
Okay.
I was like, I don't think I want to be in advertising. As good as I am in it, I won awards when I was there. The work that I led was won awards there, and I'm very grateful for that. But I think the medium wasn't for me.
Yeah.
I realized I wanted something that would be kind of like challenging people's perspectives of reality, and something that would have instant impact, something that I could look at someone in the eyes and
cause
know.
and effect.
Yeah. And I know that I've made an impact, whether it's good or bad.
Yeah.
I know I can look at you and see. And so I was like, I don't know what that is, but I needed to leave to get clarity. I need a lot of space to think. And if I'm busy doing this and that, I won't
you
think.
don't have capacity. Yeah.
And so I got my space, 7 years of space. And within that
7 years in the desert.
Yeah, basically I did my pilgrimage to within myself, I guess. And in that time, I think after year 1, I realized I'm cooking every day. Morning, afternoon, evening. And not just cooking to eat. I'm like trying stuff. I always loved cooking. I started cooking when I was an infant.
Allah.
I used to be in the kitchen all the time. The first time I saw this white powdery thing turn into this ball of dough, turn into chapatis, I was like, is this magic? How did this happen? This is so weird. And then I will go back to the pantry and I touch the flour and I'm like, how did this turn into chapatis? That's so weird.
I don't think I've ever wondered.
For
Ever
me,
in my
it was
life.
so interesting. It was just
That's
like,
why it's like, that's why skills are so specific to the person.
Yeah.
It's never been a thought that's ever come to me, like where this this flour. Nope.
But I never like explored it scientifically, or it was never nurtured as a career skill.
Yeah.
It was just something that I could do, and I used to cook for the family, whatever. And it was just something I loved, but I never thought about it as a career or as a science until I left and started thinking and feeling and realizing, oh, I cook every day.
What are some of your favorite things to cook? Or at that time?
That's so hard to answer.
Okay, give me 3.
So I haven't traveled outside of this continent. And so for me, cooking is like a spaceship. It's like a plane. And so I was able to just to go to Vietnam through pho. I was able to go to Tokyo by making matcha tea and matcha desserts. I was able to go to New Orleans by making New Orleans by way of Ghana and Nigeria and Senegal by making gumbo. And so for me, if I feel like I'm connected to a certain part of the world, the easiest way for me to get there really quickly is to read about what they eat and then look for ingredients and cook it and eat. And then find somebody from there and be like, hey, I made this thing. What do you think?
Can I just tell you?
Yeah, tell me.
There's not many people that make me feel dumb when I go to their social media, but wow, Josh, you make me feel really slow.
What do you mean?
You always post the most, I don't know, Japanese intricate way of making, I don't even know, some obscure thing I've never heard of before. If I know anyone who experiments with I've seen you experimenting with, it's freeze drying, or is that where you use, I don't know, all kinds of, the things you post really make my head hurt in a good way.
I'm a big feeler. I have feelings, as everybody does. But the thing that being an artist, having an outlet for your feelings is important. And so I realized that the importance of aesthetics and how aesthetics can affect people's perception of themselves, of you, and how it can communicate very clearly, because it kind of puts people's guards down. Yeah. If something looks, smells, feels good, it makes people more open to receiving whatever information it has. And food is an amazing way of communicating feelings. But to understand how to manipulate it, you have to understand science. You have to understand chemistry, biology, physics, and there is certain specialized niche branches of food science. Of culinary arts rather, that puts in food science and puts in psychology and it's called gastrophysics.
Gastrophysics.
Yes.
That's what it sounds like when I read your stuff. It looks like physics, but for food.
And so, yeah, basically. And so gastrophysics is something that I studied.
Okay.
Once I realized that a lot of the people that I was looking to, René Redzepi in Denmark, what's his name? Oh my gosh. I have to say his name before I forget.
I'll help you remember.
He's a Swedish guy. Anyway, he's kind of
gastrophysicist.
Yeah, he's he had a restaurant called Faviken, which was more like a research lab and restaurant, and one of the most innovative people in the world when it comes to food and food culture and food science and food history. And I realized a lot of these people. Oh, sorry, I have to shout out somebody, a Kenyan guy.
Yeah.
There's a specific Kenyan guy. His name is Dennis Angani. He has a restaurant in Karen called Embark, which you have to go to. Yeah. It's just...
Noted. You can take me.
Let's go tomorrow.
We'll purpose it. Okay.
I'll call Dennis.
Okay.
But Dennis is also huge for me because him and I are very similar, except he has very classical training.
Oh,
he's gone to,
culinary.
Went to Spain as well. I think he did a few stages then. Spain is a very big country when it comes to food science and really interesting what people call molecular gastronomy. And he challenged me a lot. He asked me certain questions. He asked me, "What do you really want? Do you want to have a restaurant, or do you have what's in your true vision? And then what do you need to get from here to here?" And so I realized what I loved was reading information, like experimenting, small details. It was never really about having pretty plates that I can give people. It was about, I'm really interested in information. So I'm going to learn, I'm going to practice, I'm going to make my own things, and then I will create new information. But I have to study. And so I spent that 7 years, I studied and studied and studied and studied. And I love, like, social media is great because I can just DM some of the best chefs in the world and some of them will respond.
Interesting.
There's some apps outside of Instagram, there's some apps there's an app called Gronda, which is, it's like Instagram for chefs specifically.
What is it called?
Pro chefs. Gronda.
Gronder.
Yeah.
Gronda.
Gronda. And in Gronda, I was able to talk to a chef from Peru called Vigilio Martinez, who is incredible. His restaurant was #1 in the world a few years ago.
Wow.
And I was able to just like, hey, are you, and from some of his staff have taught me about chocolate and cacao, because Peru is like the mother. And then I realized through all of these things, I'm able to, because of my passion and interest, and people could see it.
Yeah.
People were very kind in sending me books, sending me information, giving me recipes and that's, recipes are kind of like unknown. People don't give
Nobody
recipes.
gives recipes.
But people were open. And so I soaked in so much information and then I stopped. I was like, okay, now I need to do something.
Yeah.
It's been years. And
I think also
yeah.
maybe you got enough learning to feel like, okay, I can start.
Yeah.
I
I went through my school.
Yeah.
My free, not free, but
It's free.
it took a longer time than it would if I went to
Yeah.
Paris, but also it was at my own pace as well.
But also you moved into directions that were needful for you.
I also moved into directions that I wouldn't have gotten if I went to cooking school.
Exactly.
So I'm very happy that I was able to be as broad as I could be within the abilities that I had and within the equipment that I had as well. And through that, something really weird happened. You know about Steve Jobs going to India, right?
Yeah, but remind me.
Okay. So Steve Jobs was a brilliant man. I mean,
I feel like I remember, but I don't remember the details.
Whatever. He was not, I think he was neurodivergent. He was obviously neurodivergent. I think he was not a neurotypical person. But there's something that he did. So he, was in college, he was soaking up information. I think he was also undeclared. He dropped out.
Yeah.
And within being undeclared, he studied many different things, including like calligraphy. The calligraphy class he studied was very pivotal in how, when you open your computer, how the typography looks. And I was just like, that's soft skills.
Yeah.
That is, for me, I'm like, I really related to him a lot, like not growing up, but maybe in studying computer science. Because I was like, oh, I really love that and because of that, in fact, I studied advertising I went to advertising classes. I didn't pay for them. But I was like, hey, if you need help with design,
I got you.
If you need help with photography, if you need help, and they're just like, okay, just come. One of them made me his assistant. And so I was like helping out with the homework and stuff. And I had my own like programming and
to do
Python and C++. And like, anyway.
You've seen Steve Jobs. I love Steve Jobs too. Because I think I'm a non-typical techie.
Absolutely.
And I really love tech that's functional, but also pretty.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like the aesthetics behind making sure it works well, especially for, so I work with a lot of internal companies. I'm an entrepreneur is what I like to call myself. And unfortunately, internal software systems are usually pretty ugly. It's like bare bones, no one wants to invest. And I one of the things I think I can be happy to say is I always agitate for
aesthetics.
Aesthetics.
I think, I mean, I talked about beauty. beauty has a function. People say form and function, but form is a function.
Yeah.
Form communicates something that
Yeah.
you can approach me. That's what UI is, right?
Right.
And so you can approach me, it's fine, you're safe. There's some UIs you look at and you're like, I don't trust this.
Yeah.
So form.
I mean, you're using it all day.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to
for me to
feel-
influence your adoption, the easiest way is for me to make it pretty.
Absolutely.
So-
100%. That's also how a lot of scammers get away with stuff.
Yeah.
Like they make it super pretty and you're like, oh, this is fine.
This
I'm
is fine.
And so he soaked up a lot of information as an undeclared young man.
Yeah.
And then at some point went to India and did some fun stuff that changed his brain chemistry. And
Ayushka? Ayushka?
I think he did LSD. That's the myth. I don't know if that's a legend. I don't know if it's true.
Don't get sued now.
So for me, my like version, after he did this,
you did LSD?
he got enlightened, and his enlightenment involved the emotional side of a personal computer. And so what is it? Is it Hello World?
Hello
Is it
World?
Hello World? The first thing that opened with the Mac, remember that
I
first
don't
Mac
remember what it is.
with the thing? We had it. I can't remember what it's called. Power Mac.
Yeah.
I think it was called a Power Mac, or an Apple Macintosh something. Anyway, and the first thing you saw was the little icon with the smile. Before UIs were just text, right? And for him, he put a picture, and someone felt an emotion, and he got that enlightenment after unboxing himself, but then he unboxed himself after soaking up information for years, right? And so for me, that same similar thing happened without the drugs.
I was just gonna say. I mean, what
I
version
got-
of LSD did you take?
I got COVID. I got the COVID, and I had the not so fun one. Thankfully, I didn't lose my sense of smell. I would have really stressed
But
out.
you lost your sense of taste.
I got fever and blah blah blah. I couldn't move. I was just like bedridden, and this was December of 2021. Yeah, December 2021. A good friend, actually like 4 good friends came in from the US and I think because of COVID, people were feeling very homesick. So my sister, all of my Kenyan friends from wherever, Japan.
we were traveling home a lot.
Everybody was coming
I know.
back.
I
Were you
saw-
here?
I was here, yeah.
And then we all went out. We were like, oh, let's go. And we all caught COVID. And we were all bedridden. I had planned to go to the coast. And I was just like, oh, man. But now I was bedridden for 3 weeks. And in that 3 weeks, I've really reconciled with myself. But then in the last week, I was having lots of very vivid dreams. And in one of the dreams, I was an ice cream maker. And I was just like, oh, yeah. I didn't want to write books. I want to blah, blah, but I didn't realize, within the 7 years of study, for me, I didn't see myself as a restaurant owner.
Yeah.
I never saw it. As much as I studied under, certain chefs and stuff, I was like, I don't think that's the thing. Once, the reason why when I woke up, it made sense was because my love for design, my desire to keep changing.
Your experimentation.
Experimenting,
Yeah.
but staying within a system.
Yeah.
Right? In a way that is sustainable. Because doing that in a restaurant is very hard. Changing a menu every week.
Yeah. No.
It's-
I want to eat the
it's
same thing I
hard.
ate last week because it was amazing.
The only people who can do it charge a lot of money. For
Yeah.
that. And
Like
so
the pop-up restaurant.
yeah, those things. And so for me, I'm like, no, I want something ice cream is the beginning. Oh no, actually it wasn't the beginning because we've spoken about other things. We've spoken about a noodle truck and
You started with that. No, I remember you started with a noodle. No, not
Yeah.
noodle. Was it noodles or snacks?
it was actually, I wanted to start a food truck
It was a food truck. Yeah, I remember that.
and I wanted to call it Oishi, which is delicious in Japanese or yummy. And then I wanted to hand pull noodles and make the broth from scratch, buy the vegetables from farmers here and ferment my own soy sauce and fish sauce. Like I wanted to make everything and then sell the soy sauce and fish sauce as
It's like products.
products.
Yeah.
That was the plan.
And
So
we were
like,
going to source the Tukats from London or something.
yes.
And we we're going to put them at Polo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to do. That was my first
You're
food
still
idea.
in the same chapter.
So
It's just
a different version.
product.
It's a different version of the same thing.
So it's a pivot.
And
it's
so
a pivot,
I'm
not
pivoting.
a complete.
Yeah. There's certain things that I wanted to do. Like after that, I was like, oh, maybe I should start with something small. Let me make liquid smoke. I had to design and build a machine that could decant smoke and then find a supplier of. I was just like, no, I don't have the capital for that.
Yeah.
What can I start in my house?
Yeah.
And so after all of these ideas, which I still want to do,
I don't doubt it.
ice cream was like, oh, this makes so much sense. I have a fever right now. Let me make some ice cream. So I went in the kitchen, I made some ice cream. And then I was like, this is
Which ice cream did you
the
make?
best ice cream I've ever had.
What'd you make?
I
Do you
made
remember?
a salted caramel. So I made the caramel from jaggery, what we call sukaringuru.
Mm-hmm.
So I used like local raw sugar to make a like salted caramel, which was very malty and it has depth. There's something about jaggery that's different from brown sugar or molasses or white sugar. And then I used, my sister had come back with this chocolate. It's a French company whose name I've forgotten, but they get the cacao beans from Tanzania.
Mm-hmm.
And my sister did the design for the packaging.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, I'm going to use this chocolate.
Lots of creatives in the family.
Yeah. She's a designer and photographer. She's amazing. And she's a better cook than me, actually. She's an incredible cook. And so I used her chocolate and my
Cacao,
my
salted
salted caramel, and I made a cream, and I made no, I didn't make a cream, but I used cream and I used almond milk because that's what was in the house because my sister is lactose intolerant. So all I had in my fridge was almond milk. And so I made this ice cream and I tasted it. I was like, why is it so good? Like, I don't understand why it's.
If I do say so
Is
myself.
it my, and I'm not that kind of person. Like, I don't really big up, I'm not Kanye West. Like, I don't speak
don't
about,
brag on yourself
I
like
want
that.
other people to talk about my work. But at that point, I was like, oh man, that is different. There's something special. Or maybe I just have COVID tongue. Maybe that's what that is. And so I kept extras. I made a bunch and then I kept it in the fridge and I handmade it. I didn't have a machine. I made it by hand, and which is a lot of work. And put them in the freezer. And then when I was better, on the 1st of January, 2022, yeah, 2022, 1st of January, literally 1st of January, I sent it out to some friends and one of them came over after sharing it with her family. Her name is Cookie. She's amazing. Cookie came over to my house and she said, you have to make this your business. My parents asked me, is this Browns? Is this Häagen-Dazs? What is this? Is it really good? And I was like, no, maybe let me make more and see and test and see.
Yeah.
And like, she really supported me and she really pushed me. And I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to use Ibu as, actually it was Oishi at the time.
Oishi, because you were still doing noodles.
I was still doing,
You're still stuck on
I
noodles.
called it Oishi in the beginning.
Oh, you wanted to pivot to ice cream but keep it as Oishi. Yeah. It's a
Because
nice
I like the name. It's very
nice name,
cute
yeah.
and it's easy for people to
Japan
remember.
is trending too. You know?
Yeah, I mean, Japan is always...
It's extra. It's like on Uber trending.
Yeah, but then also I realized that, the language, I wanted to be sensitive to the fact that I am not Japanese and we are not in Japan.
Proprietorship.
I think for me, the idea of Japan is excellence, mastery, patience. There's many values that I have as a person that I share a lot with that culture. And, I think, there's excellence here. There's excellence in, as you told me, I think, you said everywhere you go, Kenyans are special.
Oh, they're brilliant.
Wherever, yeah.
It's just a matter of opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then, I was like, let me change that. But as time passed by, and I was like, okay, this is a good product. It was still a bit oily. I hadn't figured it out.
Yeah.
Right? This is the recipe you're having now is like, of my base is recipe 5 or 6. But it took me time to figure it out. And once recipe 3, I think was when I was like, okay, this is a better product. That took me about a year and a bit. And within that, and just after I figured that out, I was talking to her. I posted it on my Instagram, and I was like, I figured this out. I'm so happy. I don't need to hire a like a food scientist for 100,000 shillings an hour, which is not. It's just actually like
The
the going
reality?
rate. And who was it? There's a friend of mine who lives in Bali. Her name is Neha. She makes beautiful clay work, bowls and plates and whatever. And we were texting, and she accidentally wrote Ibu in our messages. And I was like, "What is that?" And she said, "Oh, Ibu is like, the way we call people auntie, even if they're not your aunt, like an elder lady, out of respect. That's what people in Bali call women, like older women, out of respect. But it actually means mother. So your mom is your Ibu, but a lady who sells you vegetables is also your Ibu."
Thank you, Ibu.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I was like, "Oh, yeah,
That's
I
the
like
name.
that." It's an easy thing to remember from most regions of the world. It's a word that is very simple to say. It's something that sounds like it's from South America. It's something that sounds like it's from Africa. It sounds like it's from the Middle East. It sounds like it's from Asia. Those 4 regions for me are really important.
Yeah.
Um,
They also kind of show up in your flavor
yeah,
profile,
that
which we'll
was
talk
very
about
intentional.
in a little bit. Yeah. Also, like food, mom, they kind of
Yeah.
work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, you think about your best memories or your worst, maybe in for some people who maybe lost or didn't have.
Yeah.
That's such an important thing in our lives. The mother is the source. Vinegar sauce is called the mother.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because that's where everything comes from. That's where we come from. That's where you come from. Mother Earth is where, So the word mother and the concept of a mother is what is, it is the why.
Yeah.
And so for me, I realized that whatever I'm doing, as I mentioned earlier, I love information. I love stories. And I think the idea of, the importance of feelings and how we feel about each other and how we connect to each other. The source of all of these things.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
now you've been a year and a half. So we're now at 23.
Sorry?
We're in 23 now. 2023.
We're in 20. Oh,
Yeah.
At that point.
At that point in
Yes.
2023, you're like,
So
okay, this is
this
the
is
one.
the name.
This is the name.
Yes.
I have
I have a
base
recipe
product.
that I'm like more confident in. Yeah.
Okay. How many flavors did you have at that time, do you think?
God. So that first year, what I was doing, which was having a lot of fun, I was doing 1 flavor a week.
Wow.
I had a system. So the system was Mondays are my market days. I'm going to clear my mind. I won't plan it. I'm just going to walk around. What is in Nairobi? And what I liked about market days was I got to discover things that most people, like a lot of Kenyans, don't know about. So there's a Turkish shop in Adams Arcade, which only sells Turkish products, that's owned by a Turkish man. And there's a Japanese place in Awingskodek that's owned by this Japanese family. They're all very cute. And they sell Japanese products and also make some Japanese traditional products with Kenyan local ingredients, or using local spaces to make certain things like koji, which is a fermentation primer. And I discovered so many things: Turkey, Japan, South Korea, China, Kenya, certain parts of Kenya, like there's certain Luya spaces, shops, that only sell Luya products.
Interesting.
And like Congolese. And I was like, wow, like Nairobi is actually crazy. Like it's a whole universe. Like Nairobi is so many
Cosmopolitan
things.
space.
It's so many things.
Yeah.
But most people typically would go to the supermarket to buy stuff because it's convenient, they think it's convenient. It's a convenient space, but in terms of things like bargaining, relationship building, niche products, it's very hard to get in a supermarket, but very easy to get if you know where to go in Nairobi.
You take the time to do a market day.
Yeah, exactly. At one point I'd love to do like walks with
Ooh,
people
that'd be kind of cool.
who are interested in
I think I did that in college. They used to do, because I did I did urban design for one
What?
semester. I did urban design, in undergrad. I used to take things for interest.
I see.
Yes.
I see.
So I guess it makes sense.
Yeah.
And we would do tours of the city to just kind of walk around and absorb the city and take inspiration. Yeah.
So, I mean, I told you I love architecture. So there was the point where I was doing architecture works with people like, this is a building that was built by this lady called Dorothy Hughes.
We need that in Nairobi, in Kenya.
I do that.
Okay.
So if I wanted to work with the School of Architecture and be like, hey guys, just give me licenses to like shoot photos and like write the stories that I know and make content, and people would be really interested in knowing like how from 1964, how did this happen? Right?
We need that, especially before, and I know we're segueing, we'll go back, but the people that have the knowledge are dying. And they're gonna die with all this knowledge. So we need to do that now, capture all that information.
Absolutely. And
now. And it's changed, and the city is changing so much. The country's changing so much. So to be nice to have that history.
I mean, all these glass-faced, tall buildings for me are they can be beautiful, I guess. But then I'm really interested in the pre-modern and post-modern Nairobi.
Yeah.
There was a sweet spot. So like I think the 90s was the sweet spot. The 80s and 90s where you could go down Valley Road and it's just jacaranda trees.
It was beautiful.
And Nairobi is the green city in the sun. That's what they call it, right?
Yeah.
But now it's really not. Now it's more roads, it's more buildings, more glass.
I guess every city goes through
and that happens.
evolution.
It's growth, it's evolution. You can't stop it,
Right, so now, let me see. Where are we now?
So I was telling you my flavors, my system.
Yeah.
So the system I had was
once a week.
Once a week, Mondays, go to the market, look at what's interesting, turn that into something that I can put into an ice cream base. So whether it was a spice or a fruit or whatever, an alcoholic beverage.
You just use your tongue as a guide? Like,
Smell,
I like this,
look,
all your senses.
Touch, all of the senses. Use all of them because that's how you can tell. And then you connect. I personally, I connect with produce and with things people have made or grown. And so for me, it's easy from an instinctive point of view, it's easy for me to know this will work or this would be interesting. Work is not necessarily like this is perfect or everybody will love it. For me, interesting is like, I wonder what will make this person, like somebody who would only like vanilla, if I could challenge them to have a fish-based ice cream, how would they feel? Exactly. That face, that look you had in your, exactly. That for me is very compelling.
We need to get you with Olivia. Olivia, we talked with her yesterday and she's talking about insect.
Yeah,
snacks.
I've made an insect ice cream actually.
Insect ice cream,
yeah, with a company called Insectipro, but we'll get there.
Okay.
So with termites. And it was delicious. It was really crunchy and salty.
Okay.
Oh, anyway, so at that point now I was doing once a week, so I did 50-something flavors.
50-something
by that point.
Okay. Are they all still in production? Or you scaled some things back?
I just I was just trying stuff. And then at some point I was like, okay, I need to have a menu. And the menu will have, the rules of my menu are, I can always get the ingredients.
Okay.
And secondly, I can segment them. I studied a little bit of perfumery. Actually, you can smell my kefir. It has some of my perfume in it. So, shout out Sylvia. My friend Sylvia is an olfactory scientist that taught me about perfume and yeah. And so within the perfumery industry, there are families of fragrances, woody, spicy, like fresh, comforting. There's
profiles.
There's profiles, right? And I was like, oh yeah, the way people pick perfume should be the way people pick these ice creams based on either something that they know or something that they are curious about. And so I wanted to be clear that within these feelings of rich, comforting, warm, you'll get the spicy flavors, you'll get the vanilla, you'll get the chai masala. And then in the smoky one, smoky is self-explanatory. Yeah. There's bourbon, there's grandpa ice cream, which I called grandpa, but it's a smoked cream. There is tropical or electric. Sorry, there's tropical and there's electric.
There's electric.
So tropical is like your...
Like sorbet?
it's not sorbet. So it's sherbet, which is
Oh,
like a
it's
sorbet with
sherbet.
which
Sherbet.
is sorbet with cream. So it's
So
like
sherbet is sorbet with cream.
no, yes, but
Oh, creamy.
so sherbet is such a very broadly used
No,
word.
I like neither.
Okay.
I like neither, so you're
Sorbet
good.
is you told me you don't like
I
fruity
don't like
things.
fruity ice cream.
But you need to taste mine. The one
I'm
that I made for
open-minded.
this
I'll try it.
mango season has been so good. What I like about now that system that found it right now, every time I go to markets, I'd see it's like seeing the matrix. Like you're able to see what farmers are doing around the country. You're able to see how the government is importing certain things. And so mango season, I was seeing the most variants of mangoes I've ever seen in Nairobi this December.
Okay.
And so I played and played and played and played.
So you have electric. So you said electric is
Electric is like lime,
okay.
things that make your tongue tingle,
Okay.
right? So hibiscus. What else? What else do I have on that menu? My menu has 18 items.
Yeah, you have a nice menu. Okay, you have electric. Which other flavor profiles have it you mentioned?
Earthy,
Earthy.
which is like moringa, matcha. I have a secret mushroom one that's
Okay.
really nice. Normal mushrooms.
Like with real mushroom. Okay. You're hearkening back to Steve Jobs.
Shout out Steve Jobs. So yeah, earthy. There's certain flavor palettes that are common to everybody or that are easy for people to understand.
Yeah.
If you look at the flavors themselves, it might be confusing. But the way that I've put them together, it's like, oh, I know that what I'm getting from this is an earthy feeling, a soily, petrichor, almost like sensation in my nose. If I'm getting something electric, I'm getting something that will stimulate my tongue to,
Produce more
to
saliva.
produce more saliva,
Yeah.
right? And to my eyes to twitch a little bit, right? And so the way that I've put, and then there's floral, which is like saffron, rose,
Yummy.
lavender. There's certain things, and so yeah. Once you look at my menu, it's structured in a way that for you personally, you know what you like, you know which perfume you like, you know which flavors, you know what you want to drink first thing in the morning. I like juice and water, orange juice
Yeah.
and water, or passion juice and water. I don't prefer a hot drink until later in the afternoon
Interesting.
or in the evening. And so for me, if I want an ice cream for the morning, I would want like a sherbet, right? I would want an orange based,
Sounds me out of that.
orange and chocolate ice cream.
I want salted caramel.
Yeah, you're more in the
I'm
rich,
more in the-
comforting.
Yes.
What do you call it? Right after a breakup.
What is like?
What's it called?
So I eat like a person who's heartbroken.
Yeah, which is
Wow.
fine, which means you have feelings. Like it's a good thing. And so, and that's fine. Like it's also socialized. Like a lot of we like what we
it's
like
probably the
because.
traditional like vanilla.
But my slogan for Ibu is stay curious,
stay curious.
try new things.
I like it.
Even if it's counterintuitive, just like be like I'll try it once.
I mean, I've tried a lot of your ice cream, and I
Yeah,
like all
you
of it.
have. There's
It's
somebody.
all creamy. That's
Yeah.
what, I think I just like creamy.
Yeah.
And sherbet for me is like not
No,
creamy.
sherbet is
So I'm like,
creamy.
if I'm having sherbet, why don't I just have like a juice?
So
Like
sorbet.
a frozen juice.
You can. The thing is, look. So sorbet is also. It can be creamy. A lot of people mess up sorbets
Oh,
and
okay.
make them too
Sorbet.
hard,
Okay.
or don't stabilize them really well. I'm really glad that I was able to have access to a lot of books and practice to learn how to make creamy sorbets in texture, not in fattiness. So cream is milk fat, right?
Yeah.
Unless it's non-dairy cream, which is what I use, it's still a fat-based thing. Mine
What is
has
gelato?
Gelato
Since we're in the
is-
description.
Shout out Italians. They've also been very nice to me. Gelato.
I guess so different gelato and ice cream.
So ice cream is cream
Okay.
based. Cream is the star of ice cream.
Okay.
And gelato, milk is the star. So milk is the majority, the highest ratio ingredient in a gelato is milk. And the reason for that, the difference between a gelato and an ice cream, or a traditional gelato. I wouldn't say the modern ones have a lot of stabilizers and stuff, but because there's more water in a gelato and there's more fat in ice cream,
Because of the milk.
the milk
Yeah,
fats,
makes
right?
sense.
And so with gelato, a lot of people now use a lot more stabilizers, whereas traditionally they used to just churn and churn and churn, and it makes sense, but it melts really quickly because
Yeah,
of the water in
because
the
of the
milk.
water, yeah.
But what you get is more flavor. The milk, you get the flavor of the milk. If you use really, really good quality milk, and that's what Italians do, they make really simple food, but use the best. I'm going to use the best tomatoes and the best pasta and the best pepper
Fresh.
and the best cheese.
I
That's
just think
it.
of, when I think Italian, I think like flavor burst, which is
Yeah.
what I think of when I eat your ice cream. It's like bursts of flavor.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think one thing I think is really important about your ice cream is it's not, you have like plant-based, or is it
It is
non-dairy?
plant-based.
Non-dairy.
It's I will say non-dairy.
Maybe not all of it, but that's where you started, I think.
All of the creams. So all of the ice cream is non-dairy.
All of your ice cream is
The
non-dairy.
cream itself, but there's some elements within some of the ice creams, like the chai masala ice cream comes with cookies in it.
Okay.
Like,
but the
so
chai masala ice cream itself, your
the
base
chai
is
masala, the base itself is non-dairy.
Okay.
So, but then the cookies are
Okay. That's
not
fair.
gluten-free. Some have butter in them, and so it's like I'm still figuring out a lot. And so, what I would need as an example is if I'm going to make things like candies, cookies, whatever elements go into ice cream, can the elements also be non-dairy or plant-based, and can they be, like, for example, gluten-free? If I can have those options, but then they have to taste good, because
But like, is there a reason for that? Why don't you just make traditional ice cream?
because if somebody is like, I really want to have some of your non-dairy ice cream,
Okay.
and there's butter in my cookies.
No, what I mean is like, why didn't you just make a dairy-based ice
Oh,
cream?
why didn't I?
line?
So I used the empirical method. I used science. I was like, okay, if I was to make ice cream, when I was doing my recipe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I was testing milks and testing creams. And so I tested different kinds of like dairy from either pasteurized, non-pasteurized, raw, directly from farmers, supermarkets. There's also those milk depositing.
like water, but
There's those are amazing. I'm really grateful those things exist for farmers' sakes. They're able to make, I think, a bit more money with that. I tried almost 30 different kinds of milk, including rice milk, almond milk, oat milk, everything, tiger milk. I used, which is not from tigers. And so I used so many different things, and then I used different kinds of cream, and I realized that I blind tasted it. So I did all of them, and I just wrote codes, and then I asked somebody else to like assign the codes to the right things. I didn't want to know. So I made them, and then the stuff that performed the best over time. So first taste, and then 2 weeks from now, what performed the best? It was the non-dairy stuff.
Okay.
Like, and also in terms of neutrality, like super neutral taste for the base, which means I can do anything.
Yeah.
I can make them salty, I can make them sweet, I can make them savory, I can ferment stuff and put inside. It'll work because it's very neutral. And so my main, I use different milk still, but my main milk is almond milk.
Almond milk.
Yeah.
And it's also the way the world is going. I think
Yeah.
a lot of the world is moving
It's
away
just,
from.
honestly, it's lucky.
Yeah.
Because that's what I realized. Oh, the wellness industry is like,
You know, I spoke
think
to a what are they called? And one time, like many years ago, and I asked him, like, he was telling me a lot of Black people become lactose intolerant in their 20s, unless they were born, and now it's getting worse. Like kids are being born, lots of kids with lactose intolerance. And I was like, how come in Kenya I've never heard of this thing? And
Wangari Maathai wrote about it.
she did. Shame on
She
me.
wrote
I need to
about
read about it. But what he actually said,
Yeah.
and this was in the States, he's like, they're just walking around farting everywhere.
Yeah.
They do have lactose intolerance. They're just always, and I kept thinking about, I'm like, Africans and Kenyans were always complaining about tummy ache, my tummy ache, my tummy ache. And
it's a thing.
Yeah.
Africa has a big problem with, especially sub-Saharan Africa. We have an issue with the lactose.
Yeah.
This is something that I also realized through this work. It's not something I'd ever studied before. As much as I love studying, I think allergen information is not something that I really dove deep into.
Yeah.
Until I started doing this work, when I realized that I felt like a clinic at some point. There were people who were texting me like, "You've saved my life."
Wow.
I've had to buy imported things.
Yeah.
I've had to buy Lactaid and then just buy normal ice cream.
And if you have kids, I have one of my
Yeah.
best friend's kid has lactose,
And it's
and she's like
very
young, like
you can get
6 to
emergency
8 years.
situations.
But it'd be good for her to know she can have ice cream now.
Yeah, like the kids,
Yeah.
the a lot of mothers who have.
Oh yeah, a lot of
there's a lot of
Ibus.
Ibus who have messaged me about, like, my child, like, she can get an emergency if she
Yeah.
eats, like, if any trace of lactose.
Yeah.
And I've had moms like sending me photos of them enjoying the ice cream. So if you go to my Instagram, it's not at ibu.mbio. It's not populated with lots of marketing, this and that. I was in advertising.
Yeah,
It should
you'd
be
think.
full of fun, colorful design stuff.
Yeah.
But for this first few years, it wasn't just about R&D or research and development. It was also about understanding people and connecting with them. So the majority of the content that you see, which is in my highlights, is me reposting what other people are saying.
Yeah.
And
I think that's
experiencing.
better. It's better marketing anyway.
Yeah.
Even if it was unintentional. How did you come to your design? Like, I think I love how clean your design is.
So in my dream,
That dream.
that
The
dream was
feverish dream.
That dream was very detailed. And I remember the details very well. I still remember those details. I should write it down. But in the dream, my ice cream wasn't just good and interesting flavors. It was also I had a work jacket, which ended up being this.
Okay.
And it has designs at the back as well that I made. And the packaging was compostable. So in my vision, what I really, really would love is to be able to have packaging that you throw into your garden and something grows.
Oh.
That is actually what I would love. So
is really
I wanted, there's a point where I applied for a grant and said, hey, I want to design a compostable packaging that has a false bottom that has seeds at the bottom.
Wow.
So you can eat your ice cream, enjoy it, and then like literally toss it guilt-free and it will
Something
break
will
down
grow.
and then something will grow or has the potential to grow.
Sounds like an idea that needs to be
I would
explored.
love that.
If you don't find
I
it,
would
you should
love
build
that.
it. So
Yeah.
that maybe can
Hopefully
chapter
the
2.
government will allow us to have seeds that's technically seed sharing, which is illegal. So I don't know.
Let's not get into that right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
That's really cool.
Yeah. And so in my head, it's like, how can I create a cyclical business?
Yeah.
A business that is environmentally sustainable.
Circular.
Yes, that's the word, circular.
Economy.
That is not cyclical, but circular. And I was like, is it possible? I studied companies around the world. Like, are there companies that are very successful, but also mindful of process, mindful of employees, value systems, environment, whatever, right? And so something that I've been doing very mindfully, but deliberately. I had an intention of whatever, just set a precedent. Set as much of a precedent as you can. Even if you're taking losses for now, take those losses because in the long term, there is trust in the quality of your product, of your packaging, of your service, of your delivery. And not just quality, but also like I deliver with electric bikes.
You deliver with electric bikes.
Only.
So like sustainability is a big
deal. It's a big deal. It is.
Yeah.
And it is a buzzword. Now I think the new buzzword is regenerative as opposed to sustainable. But these are things that matter. I think they've always mattered to me as somebody who was raised by regenerative farmers and people who loved plants. And like for me, I want to be able to live to feel like there's a place people can go and feel connected to the earth, not just to money or to success or images. It's like, am I a person who is fulfilled and happy and healthy? And if I can contribute in any way to not adding to how far we've gone in a lot of things, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
And so I found this company called Tony's Chocolonely, which is a chocolate company from
So good.
Tony's.
Oh,
Do you know about Tony's?
Yes, it's at Whole Foods. It's my favorite
Do you
ice
know
cream.
about them?
I
Like,
don't
do you
know the
know?
background of Tony's,
You
but
should read about-
my
you should-
favorite is the caramel, the salted caramel.
That
And
is
it's
the
always
best salted
on-
caramel.
It's always gone.
That is the
So
best
good.
salted caramel chocolate I've ever had in my life.
They can sponsor us.
And the
if they
thing
want
about
to.
Tony's is that they are one of the most intentional companies you'll ever find.
Interesting.
Chocolate as an industry is a hot mess. There's slavery, there's so many things.
Yeah.
There's so many issues. But he figured out, or he was intentional to be like, I want to make it as free of cruelty as possible. I'm gonna pay farmers directly. We're going to source for materials in a way that's ethical. We're going to make a product so good that it doesn't all this other stuff. Even if you don't care about the other stuff, you'll still want to buy our chocolate
yeah.
for whatever price we set it at.
Yeah.
And like, for me, that was inspiration. I was just like, that's it. And at the time I reposted them and they like DM'd me like, thanks for loving her. And I was like, you care. You're a company that cares. You
That
care
makes sense
about
why
it.
they're at Whole Foods. It makes
Exactly.
sense now. It makes sense.
And if you open it, you'll see the way that the shapes, the mold is. It's not like equal
Sorry,
squares.
whenever I buy Tony's, the first
You
order of
just
business
op-
is to eat the
You
ice
just
cream.
like, you don't look at it.
Never look at
You
the
don't break it apart.
But this is where
yeah.
you advertising, presentation.
When you see,
I'll
when
be
you
more
s-
intentional
Yeah.
next time when I eat it.
When you just the first thing you do, open it and have a look. You know the way like chocolates is segmented into like equal cells.
The boxes.
Theirs is not. There's like
Yes,
one
theirs
small
is-
one
yeah,
big one.
theirs is random.
And that was on purpose to show that the chocolate industry is not equal.
Oh.
They care about so many things, and I'm like, yeah, you can care
But you
and
also
still be.
bring that into
That's
your
what,
product.
and that's my thing.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to be able to. I know there's proof that you can do it and still be successful. I'm gonna do it.
Okay.
I just need a great system and a team.
So how big is Ibu now? Like, so you have how many flavors? You said 18?
Oh, so far I have made.
How many are like orderable?
Oh, orderable are 18, but then I have a WhatsApp community where I share secret menus every month of my R&D stuff.
Yeah.
So it kind of also helps me fund my continuous practice and trying new things.
And you
'Cause-
can also bring it to Clutch now that we're open.
Yes, exactly. So
Yeah.
what I can do with Clutch
To
is
test-
like
to
my
test the
my
flavors.
secret flavor thing can actually be an event
Oh, yeah.
like for every month, maybe on like a Sunday afternoon.
That would be nice.
Come you and your family and try the secret stuff.
Yeah.
The stuff that's not on the menu.
I like that.
And then you can pay, I guess, for access or membership. Some form of subscription. I don't know. Subscription doesn't really work incredibly well when it comes to food companies in Nairobi, but we can figure it out.
Maybe a ticket. Pay for
Maybe a ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll think about it,
exactly.
but
We'll
yeah.
figure it out. Something affordable for families, but to scale works for me.
Okay.
You know?
And you're
So-
in how many like orders do you get a week now?
I don't get many orders because I don't market very aggressively. I know I would be able to market more if I had a more sustainable manufacturing process. Right now, I'm doing R&D, I'm doing the manufacturing, I'm doing the logistics for transport, customer care, design,
Are you
accounts.
you're still making the ice cream by
I
hand?
make the ice cream. No.
Not by hand.
I make it with the machine.
Okay.
So there's a
At
machine.
least there's been some
Yeah, exactly.
a little bit.
It's a machine that I have.
Okay.
A gelato machine. It's not great for large scale stuff,
Okay.
but it is way better than what I had before.
Yeah.
I'm able to do a lot more now.
Okay.
And I'm very grateful for that. But I think things like talking about supermarkets and stuff, I would need to get a way bigger machine,
Okay.
which I know I'll get it in time.
You get it. What's been like what has been maybe a couple highlights and lowlights of this journey?
Highlights? Oh, so many. There's a million. It's hard to pick.
I'm sure there's a couple which make you just be like,
Honestly,
oh.
the idea of having a dream and then seeing it That's super weird. I can't lie. Like, I've always heard, oh, your dreams can come true. Your dreams are valid.
Yeah.
All of that. I've heard it. We've all heard it. But having an actual dream and then being like, oh, that makes sense. Let me try. And then constantly working on it and seeing it grow is surreal. Like, and for it to be more than what I thought it would be. I could only see myself in like a van, like those ice cream vans, and then like serving ice cream. That's all I could see. I didn't see all the other stuff. I didn't see me learning so much about Nairobians and how lactose intolerant they are. Me learning about farms and farmers more than I did before. Me learning about plants and botany. Me learning about new techniques that I didn't realize that I needed.
Probably learning about being a businessman.
Being a business person,
right?
Business processes and like all the details of everything. I'm the person who does all the grandiose, beautiful design, and I'm also the person that mops every day. Mop, disinfect, clean.
Founder mode is very humbling.
It is.
It's very
It
humbling.
really is.
But you have to be willing to do, if you're willing to do the big things, you better be willing to do everything. Yeah.
And I'm happy to do it because I'm proud of it. And like, I believe in it so much.
Yeah.
So having that purpose, having a clear purpose, and having a way to nurture it consistently and seeing it grow, that's the biggest.
I've known you for some years now, and I think this is the most, what's the word? I think this is the most centered maybe I've seen you. Of course, there's founder stress, it's there, but I feel
fine.
like you found your thing.
Yeah.
You found your thing.
I think
one of your things, but you found...
It's been what, 10
10
I don't know how
years?
many years, 10 years.
About 10
and,
years,
And within that time, I was in the wilderness. Like,
yeah, so exactly.
And within that wilderness, I was like,
through the wilderness.
Should I don't know what to do. I'm lost. And then sometimes you don't want to get out of bed because you're like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I know I'm smart and I know I have skills, but I don't know where to put it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go back to advertising.
I mean, now maybe you don't get out of bed, but it's because you're like, I need money.
I need
the problems are different.
It's a different but
problems.
I would like.
But you go to sleep. I don't know about you, but I go to sleep now, especially since I opened Clutch, which has only been a month.
Yeah.
But I go to sleep with a smile on my face more days than not now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me,
even with all the problems,
you're gonna have problems regardless, whether you love what you do or not.
Yeah.
In fact, especially when you love, because you have emotional investment.
Yeah.
But I'm happy waking up. Leave alone going to sleep. Waking up is great.
Excited, you're like,
Mondays. What are Mondays? I don't know what a Monday is. Like, every day is a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Knowing I do what I do. It's very demanding.
Yeah.
Physically, that's one of the lowest parts of it.
Yeah, I was going to say, what have been like a couple of the deepest lows in founder mode?
I'm mostly exhaustion. Like burning out. I burnt out a couple of times, almost like clinically. I've had to see a doctor because I'm not sleeping. I have to deal with a million things. Also getting out of my comfort zone. I mean, which is, I guess would say is a good thing. Having to talk to a lot of people is something that I've had to figure out how to focus on as well. But it's also been very stretching. Like, it stretched me maybe sometimes to a mental breaking point. Not just that, but like all the things that are not typical to me. Spreadsheets, filling in reports, answering questions from Zisa, like that are
it's tough.
And so for me, like
me asking you for business plans.
I'm like, I just want to vibe. I just want to make stuff. Like,
but I know, see there's a reason.
I know, I know that it's important, and so for me, not having a consistent presence of my gaps, like a BD person, like a business development person, who loves that side of things, who loves spreadsheets the way I love cooking. I
think, and I'm not even trying to plug Clutch, but I'm hoping that those are some of the things we can do as like a resource so that we let founders just stay in like their center of excellence.
I don't want to be outside of everything, but it would be nice to have,
you can still
to not
stay
be the
inside
primary
of it, but not like create systems
exactly.
around like how do you answer customers, maybe embedding a chatbot or something, things like that, which can help.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I think having assistance has been the biggest thing.
biggest
Not
challenge.
not being able to have people I can trust creatively, business wise, not trust, but have with me. I feel like if I did have a team, I think we'd grow faster.
But some of that is
More,
just probably a matter of just growing to the right,
yeah.
to be able to pay them consistently. And
That has
because you're
been
not
the
going to
thing.
train people up and then they leave. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's not like you can get a contractor for some of this work.
It's really important
Yeah.
for me that I'm able to pay people. That's really, really. I never. There are people who've offered like, oh, I can just be, and I'm like, no, I don't believe in unpaid
Me
internship.
too. I don't.
I
like
don't.
it.
So I can't use you like that.
Yeah.
Even if I would actually love that help. I don't think that I can.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I want to set up. I still want to set a precedent.
Yeah.
Of like you can be successful without
Yeah.
taking advantage of people at every turn.
I agree.
And so yeah, I stuck with it, and as I said, I'm a patient person, so I was like, just be patient, just don't stop, just be consistent. You will get your burnout, you will get your blah blah blah, but the product is good. At the end of the day, it's a good product.
It is a great product.
And you've taken your time.
It's not good. It's great. It's pretty amazing. It's
Thank
pretty
you.
amazing.
Actually, I met someone yesterday from London who has one of the two only Kenyan restaurants in the UK called Kenyan Kitchen. She tasted my chai masala ice cream and almost cried after the first bite. And I was just like, yeah, that's good. This is my work.
Yeah.
And so I know the product is good. I just need systems, and I think it could travel really well as a brand and as a product, as long as there's plans and there's the right people around it, and
So,
it's
like,
something that's appealing globally.
So how can
I think
like if there's anyone listening that might like what are the areas that you challenged in that are lowlights that you need support with?
So
Or at least for the next chapter of ebook.
I think it's important that I'm able to have a payment system, first of all, that is less cumbersome. The system that I have right now is you pick what you want, you ask me the price, you go to M-Pesa, you put the phone number, and it's a direct send money. And it's like, okay. So one of the reasons, so the way that I cost or price it rather includes delivery.
Yeah.
The reason why is because of what's his name? The Uber guy. The guy who founded Uber, one of the founders of Uber. The guy who nobody likes.
Yes.
I can't
That
remember
guy.
his name.
Okay.
So there's something that he said. So I read his books, and there's something that he talked about when it came to Uber, that one of the reasons why Uber is so special is not because of its ability to have proximity, whatever. It's the frictionlessness. Frictionless means as few obstacles from decision to purchase or decision to delivery. And I was like, yeah, I want to do that. One of the most annoying things for people when it comes to food is, let me pay for this thing, or let me decide, first of all, if you have a million things in your menu, let me decide. Secondly, let me pay. And thirdly, delivery is kind of, used to be pretty wonky. And then the delivery comes and then you pay for delivery. And I was like, okay, what can I help you with in terms of the hardest thing? Let the hardest thing be the payment for now, but then after that, don't even think.
Yeah.
Just let me know when you're home, or if someone is home, everything else will be sorted. It will be brought to your house and it will get to your freezer.
Through an electric bike.
Through an electric bike with compostable packaging.
Compostable packaging.
And so
there's ordering system.
I need an actual system that considers all of these things. I want the least resistance for a customer, and also the ability, a lot of people, especially new people, this is all new. Ice cream is not something that is explored here.
I mean, most people probably buy the Lion's Maids and what's at the
so
store.
Vanilla,
that's what we know.
chocolate, strawberry, blah. If they want to go crazy, they'll buy a Haagen-Dazs or Browns.
I'm based in San Francisco, and I think your ice cream reminds me of Jenny's.
Oh, that's really nice.
So it's
Thank you. It's a big compliment.
She's and she has a lot of the same.
Yeah.
Very intentional.
I love Jenny's.
Even her story is very like. She's like maybe she's not small batch anymore, but I think she started like
not.
small batch. But I mean, it still feels it
It
has the small
feels
batch
small batch,
intimacy,
but it's not.
But even when she started,
Yeah.
she had that intentionality
When you
of
have,
flavor.
if you can, that's soul. If you can keep your soul
As
and
you grow,
scale, that is
that's the sweet
magic.
spot.
That's magic, and that's very hard to do.
Okay.
I think Starbucks has been able to. I don't know. You whatever. So
I think they've
there's
left.
such a
I think they've gone left on
Yeah,
that.
let me not-
They're very.
Yeah.
It's pretty. No,
So,
I wouldn't say. I think actually people are blowing back to going to
small,
intimate.
yeah, small cafes.
Yeah, boutique cafes.
Yeah.
Because
I mean, it's cool,
Yeah.
but then it's hard.
it's hard.
It's hard for the owners and
and at some point you lose control, but still.
yeah.
So you
I
want
would
an
like
ordering
to-
system,
Yes.
but we've talked about that base that you're talking about,
What do you mean?
the base of your ice cream that you want from
Oh,
Dubai.
I need to. I was talking about structure first, and then product, and then
okay.
there's like things.
All right. So you have order management systems.
So yeah, so management systems.
Management
so
systems.
accounting, customer care, ordering, whatever, right? And that could be people and or software or both or AI. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll find out.
But
We'll explore.
just systems that are reliable, predictable, and yeah.
And
I was going to say functional,
and
but
repeatable.
And repeatable, yeah. So I think for me, if I, as founder or chef or whatever, can trust that I don't need to do that, but it works really well for my customers and they're happy, then I'm good. That's it. Like if they can order something at midnight and they know that the system will give them what they need.
Yeah.
If this system will communicate with riders, and tell them, hey, make sure you're here by this time and make sure that you deliver by this time. And there's a tracking system for customers to be able to be like, where is my order? They don't need to text, just look.
Yeah.
And if there's an issue, we will communicate with them. That's what I do now. If I see an issue like this traffic or the rider is not traveling fast enough, I'll call the client or text them and
That's
say,
like a lot of. That's very high churn for you.
It is.
You know, but okay.
But
so,
the thing about customer service is
all right,
that's
so
the
you
reason
need-
people come back.
I'm trying to help you ask for your things.
Okay, so now that's structure. So product, I need connections, or the ideal situation is that I have a direct relationship with my cream supplier, because that cream is a really big part of why the ice cream has a particular texture and certain kind of sweetness and stuff.
But what's been the challenge there? With getting that?
I mean, I've called them, I've emailed them. They're in Dubai. There's some random, like there's some foods producer.
What's their name?
I can't say
You can't say their name.
No,
Okay.
it's proprietary.
It's proprietary.
I can talk to you about it later.
Okay.
But
But you need this.
I need
people.
to connect with them.
Okay.
Because they have tried many different non-dairy or vegetable-based ice cream creams, and it works. It performs really, really well.
Okay.
In every sense. And so for me, if I can connect with them and say, hey, I'd like to either consult with you on buying at scale or developing certain changes in certain things for my product, which I'm sure they can because they're just food
So if
scientists.
you have anyone listening from
Dubai.
holla at you.
Or in the
okay?
food
Or in
business.
the food industry. Okay.
Yeah, food industrial production. We can talk. I mean, there's an Italian alternative as well, but
Dubai is closer.
Dubai is closer, absolutely, and they love sweets as well.
Yeah.
And then I mean, and also with the almond milk, that's the same story. I know that. I mean, the company is bigger. I mean, it's more global, so it would be easier to talk to.
We
them.
don't make almond milk in Kenya, right?
We do.
We do.
It's
But we don't have almonds traditionally.
we import them from India.
Oh.
And then there's certain local companies that make almond milk, but it has a bitter aftertaste. Doesn't work for what I'm trying to do. As I said, it needs to be neutral.
Yeah.
And so I've used the almond milks and it just doesn't work. So the recipe that this other company has is perfect for me. It's a nice canvas for the work, for the stories that I feel on top of the base. So yeah, it's the same thing with the cream. And then product
And the
was
almond milk is from the States, you said? The one you like?
no, it's from Belgium.
From Belgium.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
you're
a Belgian
fancy.
company. Yeah, that's why my ice cream costs.
That's why it tastes so
That's why
good.
my margins are this big.
Okay.
Because I don't give the best that I can.
No, it's good. It's good.
You know.
Yeah.
And then packaging. I would like to have printed tubs. And so I'd need to get printing that is environmentally sustainable printing. And there's a proof of concept of that. There's a company in Australia, I think Australia, that makes really beautiful like non-dairy ice cream. The packaging is beautiful and they do really good work. And so if I can get to figure out how to make, because what I do now is I design the stickers and I write the expiry dates and I write the flavors and I stick it and I do all of that. But if I just had the stuff ready made, it would be a lot easier as well.
Good thing you
Yeah.
have like good handwriting. So it's very
Thank
pretty
you.
writing.
I appreciate. I think
Is
I've never liked
there-
handwriting.
is anyone or any like organization or something in Kenya that like you need support with?
Also IP. I don't know how IP works with food stuff, but I'm
We'll
like,
figure
how
that
can I'd like to be able to protect my work because I want to teach. So for me to teach, I need to protect the work that's been done already.
Okay.
Local organizations, I think whatever grants exist that can help with whatever connects with farmers, like in farming, with design, if there's design grants in terms of sustainable or cyclical businesses around package design, or storytelling.
Yeah.
So if there's ways that I would love to do this with schools, like where I can take my ice creams and teach home science, teach them how to make ice cream and like teach them how to think. Really, it's really about critical thinking. How can I observe what's around me and create things based on what I've observed? And how can I listen to stories from my parents and their parents and connect with the stories through work that I make. And so I think food is it's a great canvas for people to express themselves. And ice cream is the ultimate canvas. Like you can do so many things. And it'd be nice to be able to figure out how to how to educate through my products and through my work. And I don't know who I can speak to do that. I'm doing it through my friends' kids and all of that, and that's fine. But it'd be nice to be able to have an actual
Like
program.
an avenue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Where do you see like Ibu in the next 5 years? Or what would be a happy progress path?
Hungry. It's a really good question. More products.
More products?
So not just ice cream. I can make so many different things. So like fermented sauces and syrups and like stuff that can be used. I like a lot of the ingredients that I use that I make actually for my flavors can be isolated. Like my tamarind syrup or my hibiscus
Or
syrup.
like they can be toppers or something
They
for
can
something
be
else. Or
used
even
for
like syrups
cocktails.
and
They can be used to make cordials. They can be used to top up
desserts.
your desserts.
Whatever. Yeah.
And so there's many different branches of products I can make just based on what I'm making now.
Yeah.
But there's also other products. There's spice mixes that I want to make. There's value adds from farmers. Like what can you do for example, with avocados? What can farmers do with avocados? If I could go to Kisii, humongous avocado producer, or Nyanza in general, and put like oil presses
Yeah.
in different places and be like, just bring your avocados, press the seeds, get me some oil, and then I'll package it and turn it into a locally made avocado oil that is not as expensive as what you get in supermarkets, but is high quality. Like there's many different things that I would like to do. And so whatever value adds I can make with Kenyan grown produce, or traditional, like within the Kenyan culture. So like Somali food, Ethiopian food, Indian food. There's things even within that that I can make. I want to like prepackaged chapatis for people who don't know how to make them. Like frozen chapos that you just put in the microwave. There's a million things.
I have those the parantas.
Yeah.
my dad,
Parotas.
yeah.
That's what they actually are. We call them chapatis, but they're not chapatis. Anyway,
Segue
but that's
moment.
but like there's many
okay.
different food products, or not just products, but experiences. Smells, merch. I want to make a bunch of merchandise.
Ibu merch.
Yeah, there's many things that I'd like to do.
Okay. Very nice. Very nice. So in closing, are you looking to move out of your, are you looking to like expand your ice cream shop?
I would
or go
like
to like
to-
a commercial?
Yeah, I would like a commercial space.
Commercial space.
There's a couple of options, but there's one in particular that I've seen and would really like to work with them because their standards are extremely high of
It's like
cleanliness.
the ghost kitchen concept?
Yes, yeah. So it's a ghost kitchen, but I can have contracts.
Okay.
They have one client right now who has like a 5-year contract. The should I say their name? I don't know.
You can if you want.
Yeah, so they're called Saraya Kitchens, and Saraya Kitchens are it's a Japanese multinational. They kind of are standards when it comes to cleanliness, and especially in corporate sections, hospitals, schools, corporate buildings. But they also make like what they call hand sanitizers and stuff. But with their kitchens, what they now use their kitchens for is to show how clean the stuff that they make is.
Okay.
And so for them, actually, like Kebs as an example, is not a problem. Their standards are global standards of cleanliness.
Got it.
And so whatever spaces that they're in, whatever products are made there, have
that level
the
of standard.
Saraya of
And Sarai is here in Kenya.
Saraya is on Ngong Road.
Oh, Ngong
And
Road,
the
okay.
thing about them as well is they, I think, would be able to get my product to Japan as well.
And then you have like some Japanese, like some Asian flavor ice
Oh
cream.
yeah, I have a number of. So I've done a tasting.
You have
I've
an
done
umami one?
I've done. Sorry.
You have an umami one.
I have a number of umami ones. So I have miso
miso.
and peanuts, and the miso is locally made, and the peanuts are locally ground, and I have a soy sauce ice cream, which is actually really nice.
Soy sauce ice
It's so good. And so I used Kikoman, a very specific kind of Kikoman aged soy sauce, and the head of marketing of Kikoman was there and tasted it.
Nice.
by what do you call it? It was a coincidence, and they're just like, okay, yeah, this is cool. And of course, I have matcha and like red bean, Adzuki bean ice cream, which is for them, beans are a great source of dessert in Japan, a traditional source. And so rice and beans actually are dessert sources in Japan. And so I have flavors, but I also don't want to just give them what they have. I want to be like, oh, taste some ukwaju, taste some chai masala, like taste Kenya
bring
as
the
well.
Kenyan stuff.
So it'd be nice to use it as a vessel to share Kenyan stories, Nigerian stories, Middle Eastern stories, and be able to do that also if I take it to Nigeria. Learn some Japanese stories.
Yeah.
Kenyan. So it's
like
a nice.
Exposing everybody to everybody.
I want to
else.
expose everyone to everyone. I would love South America, China. I mean, so Japan, South Korea, Middle East, especially Dubai and the Emirates, all of Africa, all of South America, and everywhere else. But those regions, it would be nice.
Those are
to
the ones
be like,
represented in your flavor.
Yeah. So it'd be nice to kind of move around. India, of course. It'd be nice to be able to expose them to new things while it being lactose free.
Lactose free.
So everyone, it actually opens up the market to more people.
Yeah.
And so that's a dream that I have, is to share the stories everywhere.
Okay.
Like a book, like give me a book that you really like.
Okay.
What is a book that you really like?
For me, a book that I really like. Oh gosh, that is a hard question. A book that I really, really like. Like a novel. A novel that I read.
Yeah, whatever. Lord of the Rings.
Of course,
Harry Potter.
like Alchemist. I really like The Alchemist, for example.
That is, that's a book that has traveled everywhere.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
That's actually, that's an interesting example I give, because that is.
And so even my menu is not, I call it a library.
Yeah.
So it's a flavor library because these are all stories that we either know or want to know
Yeah.
or are curious about. And I want to be able to be like, let me take these books, these stories as far as I can. I want everyone to learn and to enjoy and to connect and to and also it doesn't, you don't have to overthink it. It's ice cream, like
Yeah.
just like enjoy the ice cream. You know what I mean? But you learn stuff, you
You learn
expose
something
yourself to
too.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's been a great convo.
Yeah.
Because this is for founder, like it's not for founders, but it's founder centric. We are asking for folks to give a little bit of advice or encouragement, or what would you say, like looking back, that you can say to someone else who's either starting or on the journey, whether they're a founder, entrepreneur, just somebody trying to do something non-traditional.
Oh man. What's really interesting, and I'm very privileged to have gotten to this place because before I used to think it was just generic thoughts, things like don't give up, things like
Those canned
just
sayings.
have a delusional belief in yourself. I used to think these things were nonsense, but it's true. Like if you can clearly see a vision and it makes sense and you're able to test it, make sure you test. But you have to have a very strong vision that it doesn't matter who it is. Your girlfriend, your mom, if they're like, oh, this doesn't make sense, why don't you just try this other thing? Because you just get a job.
Yeah.
You will be told that, but you have to remain you have to respect the vision.
Yeah.
You have to
with
commit
it.
to it.
I talked to you about Clutch.
Yeah.
I'm
We
talking
talked-
about Clutch.
Clutch is your baby.
I've
Clutch
been
is
talking about Clutch, and it's keeping it as a little seed for a long time. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like and keep it to yourself. Like
Until you're ready.
Until you're ready.
Yeah.
Talk to the people that you know will unapologetically support you.
Yeah.
But keep it to yourself and stay true to it.
Yeah.
And it's going to be the hardest thing you probably will. It's harder than employment, being an entrepreneur. Employment has a structure.
Yeah.
It has
You go home at 5.
and you go home at 5 and you get your money.
Yeah.
You have sick days, but your money doesn't get
doesn't
very
change, yeah.
changed very
When
much.
you're sick, there's no ice cream moving.
When I'm sick, Ibu doesn't exist
Exactly.
right now.
Yeah.
And that's not sustainable. And so when it comes to things like when I'm sick, I'm like, I have to
You have to
make
be
a decision.
sick.
I have to. Sometimes I work when I'm sick,
Yeah.
or tired.
Yeah.
There's discipline, obviously, that I have, but then sometimes it's the boundaries that I don't. But what I'm saying is, stay true to your vision. And I know you're going to hear this in every TED Talk and every entrepreneurial whatever,
Yeah.
but it's true. You have to stay true to it. You have to have a support system that you trust fully, that believes in you fully, that know things that you don't know,
Yeah.
and that are able to challenge you. And you have to test. Make sure you test. Whatever you're doing, even if it's not perfect, test the first thoughts that other people can.
So you mean like bounce your tests off of the real world? Is what you
Yeah.
mean? Okay.
For people who don't have an emotional connection with you, especially, just like, hey, I make this thing. Do you want to try it out?
Yeah.
And see how they feel. I had a conversation with is his name Eugene, the doctor, the medical.
Dr. Ansongo?
No, the other guy. He was a nurse.
Ebenezer.
And he was talking to me about his system, and I was like, hey, it would be really cool if, I've realized I don't have access to my medical history at all. Do I have to go to the 50 hospitals I went to from birth till now for me to have access to my fulls? And he's like, oh yeah, actually, we should have that. And so like, that's what I mean. Like if you expose your idea to people who can give you feedback,
It grows.
use the feedback, write it down, put it into whatever you need to put it, and then use it and adjust. Don't be married to one idea. Don't think it's perfect. It's not.
Yeah.
I'm very far from perfect, but it's good enough.
Yeah.
And the more you expose it, the more confidence you get, the better you get. And then you figure it out. And then sleep. Please get some sleep.
Get some sleep.
Get some sleep.
You need to go to sleep today. I know you've
I
been
don't
grinding.
have any sleep.
Okay. So you're not remembering names. You need sleep. All right. That brings us to the end of this amazing combo. I like that it's so far from what people think of when they think of a founder. But I always tell people like tech that's in the wild is the most exciting tech for me, at least. And for it to be applicable in Africa, like we have to relate, like have relatable tech, relatable science. And I think ice cream is one of the most relatable sciences. And I also think that a lot of people, you're opening people's minds to going in different directions than what they've always thought of, right? Like that is such an American concept. And you kind of stayed true to yourself.
Yeah.
And I really, really think
Thank you.
that's like so honorable. I know when you're in the desert, it didn't feel like that, but
But I had community. I think community is
Yeah,
important.
yeah.
If you have people who support you and care and are present, it's
Yeah.
everything.
cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. So how can people find you? How can people order?
ibu.nbo. Just follow that on Instagram, ibu.nairobi. So ibu.nbo. And then once you follow it, you'll get a welcome message, which will have an introduction to Ibu and the number where you can reach out.
Do you do
Yeah.
partnerships? Do you go to spaces and
So yeah,
bring your ice
sometimes I will do events once in a while.
so how do people who are not on Instagram find you? Do you have a phone number?
Oh, I see. Yes, I do have. Should I?
Yes,
will it
please.
be? It won't be on
It's
the
okay.
bottom.
Well, it's be on the bottom, but you can also. Some people are audio learners.
It will be 0114-796-787. That is
Someone's
the
in the
number.
kitchen listening to you while they're cooking, so you
Write
gotta
my number down. WhatsApp me or call me. But I was doing only like cultural events, like arts exhibits and stuff like that. But then now I think I'm more open to maybe one or two weddings, maybe. Some corporate events. I'm happy to do corporate events. Offices. Yeah.
You did it was a very big success during our launch.
Yeah, it was really
one of
cool.
the biggest hits.
I was
People
very
said, we
happy.
want Ibu ice cream here.
I was really happy to do. Yeah, it was great. Yeah, so I'm able to do events.
Ibu.nbo. All right. We are at the end of our convo. So this is Keep It Clutch. Please follow us on socials at Clutch Foundry. We're on Instagram, X, all the socials, LinkedIn. And we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Thank you.